Hi guys, Alok joining.
Hey guys. Hi, hello.
Hey Seshu.
I hope there's no confusion on bridge today, at least. Last week there was a confusion. I'm not sure.
To be honest, I actually joined the other one before and then I had to switch it
I can
because I
see.
think the calendar still has the some other link. I don't know.
Okay. That's
Yeah.
were there anyone on that bridge? Hello?
No, it was waiting for the host to open the bridge and that reminded me that there is
Okay,
a
okay,
broken link
okay,
there. So hopefully people will
okay,
switch instantaneously.
okay. Let's keep our fingers crossed then. I can see people joining in. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. I need to drop early today. I got some small thing actually. So, yeah. But that's it.
There, if there is anything to fix with the calendar, just let me know and I can try to fix it. I can fix the Zoom links, but I can fix the calendar invites.
Right. I
Yeah.
think yeah, hello, go ahead.
Yeah. I think the link is pointing to the calendar invite link is pointing to some other Zoom link. I can post the correct one. Maybe you can update just the invite, which
By the way,
is
correct one is this one. Correct one is this one.
yes, yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So I'll talk to Kenny because I know Kenny refreshed all the Zoom link at the beginning of the year. Because we need to be mindful. There is a automatic video uploading happening when we're using the right link, and when we're not, the video don't get uploaded. So I'll talk to Kenny and figure this one out.
Thanks, Alexis.
By the way, Alexi, it's already 3 minutes up. You want to take it up? I mean, maybe we can hand over to Tim when he joins.
No, sorry, I cannot lead the call. I'm in my car and I can't share my screen.
Okay.
I can't lead the
Same,
call. So
same with
Tim
me
is
too.
not on the
Same with
call yet?
not it, not it. Same with me too, and
Okay.
I got to drop in between actually. So, Alok,
Well,
can you take it up?
let's give
Uh,
we can give Tim 2 more minutes. I mean, he was chatting
Okay.
on the nephew Slack not so long ago. But
Okay,
if he
sure.
can't,
Let's wait then.
then yes, we will need someone to maybe lead the call for today.
yeah, let's wait for him. Otherwise, I can bring up the agenda.
Sure, sure. Because my only worry is I need to drop early, so I wanted to make sure we can discuss as much as possible when I'm here. Okay, let's
Likewise,
wait
I
then.
have to switch to another call after 30 minutes.
Exactly.
Yeah, so do I. I have to jump like 30. So
I mean, we didn't know that we are but the birds of same feather, but this much I didn't know it actually.
well, maybe for the sake of time, if Tim is not on the call yet, Alok, if you don't mind, just running with the agenda we have. I haven't looked at the
Yeah,
agenda, so I don't
I
know what we
second
have.
that.
But if
I second that. Look, maybe you can
thank you
uh,
start.
very much, Alok.
no worries. Let me bring that. Hope it's visible.
Yes, sir, we can see it.
Perfect. So yeah, welcome everyone, and please let me know if you see Tim joining. I see him on the document, but I think it's just a matter of time. He will show us, and we can actually hand off the call to him since I have to take a hard stop as well, just after 30 minutes. As
Hey
I can
guys,
see,
I'm here by the way. Sorry about
Hey,
that.
hi
okay.
Tim. Good to see
Hi.
you.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
okay. I do.
So you mind it? I'll just take over. Sorry about that, Alok. I got caught in the
Absolutely, yeah.
previous
Go
meeting.
ahead.
All right. Then when I looked, I said, "Oh my goodness." I'm like, "All right, all right." So this is again the ORAN meeting for the 17th. The first thing we do is we approve the meeting minutes. I would ask if anyone has any objections to the January 10th meeting, the changes that they need made. Okay, so let's consider those approved. So there's really a couple things that I'd like to talk about just real quick, maybe spend 5 minutes on. We've got this in progress folder that seemed to be giving some confusion, that we have this in progress docs on it, right? And so my question to the group is, what do we want to do with these documents? Are they valid documents? And should I create an archive folder and remove which documents are not currently current or not being used, I guess is the question.
Yeah, so Tim, this was created by me because when I was kind of working on the use case with Seshu, and since Seshu was not on Slack, I created this so that we could collaborate offline. But yeah, I mean, this is simply a placeholder. I mean, it's primarily I have been using it for. I mean, I did sync up with you this earlier. Probably you don't remember this, but yeah, you could. I mean, if it's of use for somebody else, you can have it there. But it was primarily done for this offline collaboration things.
So Ravi, just real quick, are any of these artifacts or any of these documents still in progress?
No. The one that was the recent one, which is the revised one, has already been moved to the main folder where the use cases have been stored. Yeah.
All right. So I'm going to do this, if it's all right. I'm just going to take this right now, and I'm going to just move them into the archive, right? So that way people kind of know that it's not, that they're not, there's nothing in progress. I don't mind having it in progress area, guys. I just want to make sure that we keep things tidy, right? So people don't get confused. All right. So the other question I had was this particular one, this rev. So this document here is not the valid document, right? That's the older document. Is that correct, Robbie?
Yeah. The revised one obsoletes. Yeah.
All right. Into the old archive folder you moved, my friend. And then this one is really the SMO, right? Document that you want, right? Okay. I'm going to rename that. All right. Okay. Easy peasy, right? Okay. Any objection? Well, I just did it. So does anyone have an issue with just what I've done, right? Okay. All right. So I'm just going to note that I in progress documents documents that are not in progress have been archived. All right. Okay. All right. So that's that one. So now let's talk about the user stories. So we got, what I understand when I look at the user stories, we've got a set of user stories that we can have some discussion on. So I see that we got Seishu, you're on. Ravi, you're on. So let's get the one while we got Seishu here. Let's talk about the SMO. So Ravi, are you ready to talk about that one and where you're at and how we're going to progress and especially get the artifact? Again, guys, we got to the end of January to get these 4 artifacts that network automation is asking, right? Ravi, you want to take over?
Yeah, I can start. Can give a quick kind of a summary of where we are with this. You want me to share the screen? Yeah. So there have been many comments. Joey has commented, Anders has commented, and we. So last, I think, was on. After the last week's call on Wednesday, or it was Thursday, I guess. So Seishu and Sagar we got together and we addressed many of these comments. But there were, I think, still a few of them that were probably outstanding, in the sense that probably with respect to these kind of questions on what the process of so I didn't realize. So my thinking in this whole use case was that when you actually express an intent for orchestrating a network function, it would be the NFO that will be handling that request, and then will be kind of processing those specific network function descriptors and validating them, or finding the placement information from the FOCOM with respect to the the O2 DMS or the API server kind of information, and then do the orchestration and so on. But then last week there was also I think Joey had few comments around saying that it's not it's the intent won't be processed by NFO, but it'll be a service orchestration function within the SMO. But I don't think there's been too much fleshed out on exactly what the SO would do within the SMO context. So anyway, we have kind of addressed these comments by having these this kind of statements in the use case saying that SO or the elementary is not in scope and so on. So again, after this, all this kind of response to these comments, I also had one offline sync up with Alok and Joey. But Joey said he would kind of review our responses and get back and see if any of these further kind of literature needs to be kind of reviewed or revised and so on. But I didn't hear back from him. I'm not sure if he's on the call. When Joey can comment on if there are.
I do see Joey on the call. So Joey.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can comment. I didn't get a chance to go through them all in detail, but I did give a quick look, and a lot of the changes were really good. My major comment is that you have to understand that the NF deployment is its own entity or logical thing. It's not. So I see it, like the title, for instance, you say network function deployment. It's not a deployment of a network function. An NF deployment is its own thing, which is, as I described, it's a part of an NF. And that's what I wanted to kind of get clear with my comments. So we're there to a degree with what's been described, but not entirely. And that would be my biggest thing. That it's not a deployment of an NF or an instance of an NF. An NF deployment is the realization of part or all of an NF, and that's why it's the NFO only deals at that level. And from an SO point of view, yes, it's not been fully fleshed out in ORAN, but it has been agreed that the SO will be part of the SMO, and that it will handle the larger service orchestration of NFs. Yeah,
you're right. You're right on that. In fact, service orchestration also is one thing which I'm also leading from OSC. I mean, one app also from there.
Mm-hmm.
That is there in purview, but for the current scope, I think from R3 perspective of Nefio, we'll not be able to get anything over there because that's still a parallel track happening in the ORAN, right, which you also said. So for the current scope of R3, we will not be able to do that. But I also, as Ravi said, I also synced up with Ravi. I also explained him the details of where service orchestrator will be, and intent and all will be processed in service orchestrator. That has been taken, that has been corrected. But the current, in fact, you remember my first comment was about homing. When the document came out, right? My first very comment was about homing because, yes, homing will not be part of this, but it will be beyond there, which is not in scope. When we get more details about it and when we complete this, maybe in the future of it, we'll be able to accommodate it, but not right now. Maybe that will be the right way to put that processing of intent or processing of the homing and placement, I would say, right? Intent-based homing placement. That will not be in the current scope.
Yeah, and I'm only basing my comments off of the architecture that we have discussed previously, where Nefio is realizing the FOCOM and NFO. So when I say like homing is not in it's not under the scope of under the scope of an NFO. So that's why it shouldn't be here. That's what my comments are coming from. That's also why if we were realizing, say, the SO and an NFO, we could do an NF instantiation use case, an end-to-end, but that's not what
Not right now, yes.
seems
But
to
that's
be
for
here.
future.
So
That's
yeah.
yeah,
So
yeah.
that's why I want to like the work here is really, really good, and I appreciate that you've accepted a lot of my comments. So I will apologize. I did not get the chance to go through in detail. I only saw briefly, but yeah, it's just bringing it to the NF deployment level.
I want to be clear though, right? Just to be clear. So because we're starting to separate stuff into SO and other service responsibilities, and then I'll get to you. Is that, and correct me if I'm wrong, Seishu, this is an OSC as well as an ORAN. The responsibility of the NFO is to deploy what? A network function or a network function deployment? Which one is it that it works on?
It will be network function, but by network function deployment, we are talking about the deployment of network function. Okay, it's not the component of it. We are talking about
it's one to one. It's one to one.
One to one. Yes.
By code right now, although by logically it's an NF can have multiple NF deployments.
But
so my question is, go ahead.
Yeah, I think that was another
the
comment
NFO
from Joey
does not
on
the NFO does not orchestrate NF. It orchestrates.
That is
NF
right now, Joey.
deployments.
That's what I was saying. We cannot wait for enough deployment for the current scope where we don't have anything above that, right? That is getting evolved. So we have to start with NF deployment. I mean, as I said, network function deployment. Okay, the entire network function is 1:1. That's exactly what Tim was saying about. And we had discussed this before also, where we said at the current scope of Nephew where we are and what ORAN is also evolving on, we have to take the entire piece as one shot. Okay, one entity which can have multiple Helm charts. That's fine, but we can do deployment of the entire thing as one entity from NFO perspective, because we don't have anything beyond it.
But why? Okay. Sorry, that just raises a question. Why do you care that the NF deployment is all of an NF? Or that doesn't seem to matter from an NFO point of view. If you're saying deploy this NF deployment, then it doesn't matter if it's realizing all. Like you're saying this one-to-one mapping. Why does it have to be that way?
No, it's not. I'm not saying one-to-one map. I'm saying by one-to-one mapping, I mean 1:1 deployment. I'm not talking of. For me, that complete thing is one box, one black box. Okay, I get
I think, see, I tried to kind of clarify that point here. I mean, basically in terms of, so when we talk about network function in the context of Nephew, we don't imply it from the kind of the stack of that network function perspective. It is purely all the identity that's required to kind of put it through the specialization process. So in the sense, like when you express, okay, I need to deploy basically a full ODU or a part of ODU, but that ODU is you have to kind of map it to a certain set of artifacts that's in the blueprint packages, right? So that identity will be there. So unless you have that identity or the details on which cloud site or which cluster details, you cannot do the further processing on that particular pipeline to hydrate those packages or make it ready for deployment. So you require all that identity from that specialization perspective, whatever is required from an FUO management or the processing pipeline perspective. It's not the whether it is anything related to the configuration details of the MAC layer or the hi-fi or the RLC or something like that. I mean, we are all coming from that perspective, Joey. I mean, so I'm not sure if I answered.
Joey, yes, Ravi, you're right. Joey, to make it simple, I'm putting this way: we are currently considering it to be one entity. Okay, that entity can have multiple Helm charts. Or, I mean, again, I'm saying Helms. What I mean is multiple subcomponents. But by that, what we mean is we take it as a black box, we deploy it. That's how we take it right now. Because when we talk about DU, we deploy the entire DU. I mean, we take the entire thing and we deploy the entire thing right now. That's how NFO is going to work for the current release.
That's the NFO. The NFO is responsible.
That's NFO. Exactly.
A network function.
Yes.
Building its composite or determining its comprised network or deployments.
A CNF, the entire CNF.
Then in a per deployment basis, interacting with the OCloud DMS. That's the general state of what it has. The current state of the OSC software doesn't permit isn't smart enough to decompose an NF into multiple NF deployments, is what you're saying for release 3. Release 5, maybe, right? And when it does, but the point is that what we have to do for release 3 of this particular one, when we talk about the NFO, we have to realize the assumption is that one NF is one NF deployment, right? And that's until the software in OSC is more mature to handle the more complex
Exactly.
software.
Joey, this is what we discussed, right? We are here to deliver the baby, let it crawl, then walk, then everything. We are here to deliver the baby. Yeah.
Stefan here, I have one comment there, and you can also comment further. In the ORAN architecture now, they are working on this, or we are working on this decomposed architecture, and there is actually a split now proposed, where you have like a service orchestration, SMO service, that will do just what you said now, the part about the whole ORAN network function and all the software components that it consists of, and also like the subsequent, like day 1, day n application level configuration. All those things will be orchestrated from this service orchestration layer. So the NFO will be limited to only doing software or workload software deployment, and that is this NF deployment level. Then in that architecture, the NFO would not really be aware of it. Is it 1 or 5 NF deployments or NF deployment instances that are used together to actually realize one NF.
But Stefan, I'm going to say this, and I say this in love, is that if indeed what we have here is we have in OSC, right? We have a differing view of what is the scope and responsibility of the NFO, right? I think we all understand what the scope and responsibility of the DMS is and the interaction between the NFO and the DMS. So what we're going to have to do, guys, right? And I don't think it's really necessarily appropriate for Nepio because, well, maybe it is because of how we use the enablers. But we're going to have this discussion, I think, in the OSC community as to what. Correct me if I'm wrong, Seishu, but this probably belongs in the OSC community. This discussion of what the responsibility of the NFO is with respect to a network function and a network function deployment. Because if we're saying that one says it's the responsibility of the SO to do this, to do the decomposition, and the other is saying it's the responsibility of the NFO, then I think there's a disconnect here in the OSC community based upon the interpretation of the view of what the ORAN is doing.
Because this is, I think so, yes. And this is related to this SMO decomposition, where I agree with you. I mean, originally there were no service orchestration SMO service. That has been now proposed, right? So, and then the NFO in some of those use cases also took those parts that we should put in the service orchestration. So yes,
I want to pause everyone. Sorry. In interest of time, and I have to drop early. Sorry for that. I want to be clear. See, currently OSC doesn't have a clear-cut NFO. Okay, I want to be very sure of this. So what it's in the DMS. It's in the DMS HC profile, but not in the KTS profile. We don't have anything which is strongly implemented. Yes, we had something on the OEM part, which is actually doing at the SDNR level, but nothing on service orchestration level. I was making the same point that right now service orchestration is getting evolved as we speak. Once we have a clarity of it, once we have the approval of it, we'll be adopting it. But for the R3 release of Nepio, we will go with what we have. And as Tim also was saying, I'm saying it. I think even Ravi said it before, and Stephen, you are also saying the same. We'll wait for that to be matured, but meanwhile, we will implement it this way. Once we have the service orchestrator, much more clarity, we can actually move that pieces up and down. Should not be a problem. Okay. But right now we have to start somewhere. So let's start the place where NF can be taken as one entity. We don't care about how much it has. It can be taken as one entity, which we'll be deploying on. We'll take it as a black box. Whatever is there inside it, we'll deploy it. Okay. That's the best way to approach this problem and close it on. Otherwise, we will be, we are doing a parallel track here. One is getting evolved as one thing is also getting proposed and other thing is getting implemented. So let's not wait for it, right? Let's start somewhere.
All right, so let's do this real quick, right? So Joey, do you have, for release 3, do you have any real objection to going that approach in the NFO? That they'll take the The NF and the NF deployment is a 1-for-1, and they're going to work on the concept of the NF and then decompose it. It decomposes into one, right? And then I think Ericsson and others that are in the OSC community can talk about SO, NFO, and any additional responsibility for future releases. Joey, do you have a problem with that?
I just so I'm clear. I have no problem with for R3 that the NF deployment is a whole NF. So there's that 1-to-1.
Right.
I don't quite. Where I'm not quite clear is why we would, or are we looking to implement this NF decomposition functionality in NFO? Is that what you're saying?
Well, I'm saying that they don't know. What if I understand this correctly from what Seishi says is that is an active discussion in OSC community right now. Sounds like, right?
Yeah, and I agree with what Seishi said. That there's no point, let the things are evolving. Let's do what we know. But
right.
From my point of view, all that we know is that the NFO will deploy NF deployments. So if that's what we should focus on, is the NFO deploying NF deployments. And that's why I said it doesn't matter if that is a whole NF or not. Like it doesn't need to be, the NFO doesn't care at that point.
Right.
Go.
Joey, that's exactly what we are saying. We will take what we get. We are getting it one right now. We don't care if it's DU, CU, OCU, ODU. We don't care. Right. We will just deploy what we get as part of input. Whatever comes from top, we'll just take the Helm chart. We don't, as I said, I've been telling it's a black box, right? It's a black box just because we don't know what it is.
We'll take what we get, we'll get that Helm chart and deploy that as the NF deployment.
So in simple, I don't care. I don't even care what is the thing. It's just a CNF deployment. It's a Helm chart deployment. I've been telling it's black box for me. I'll just deploy that, right? Now, how that should be composed is coming from top. That part of it, we will evolve it as even the spec also evolves. That part of it, we'll keep it for later.
That's fair. That's okay. If that's what we're saying, I think we're saying the same thing.
Yeah.
So then, Robbie,
but then in that case, we don't even need to state that we assume this 1-to-1 mapping. Then the only thing we say is that we are for now.
We are not saying 1-to-1. We didn't say 1-to-1 at all. We didn't say one. I'm saying it's a black box, and here you see SO is not in scope, right?
All right.
Okay.
So Robbie, Joey, and Seishu, what we just talked about here needs to be reflected in this use case.
Yeah, and
it is already. It is already. Yeah, it's already. I mean, if it's not,
we could work offline and kind of revise.
I think that is what it says. But yeah, well, we'll give it a once over.
Okay. It's already written that way, but you can correct me actually anytime. I mean, we are happy to have it merged.
So Joey, the other thing that I want you to do is go through these comments on the right and resolve the ones that you think are resolved, so we know which ones are outstanding. Okay, Joey and Rob.
Perfect.
Okay, perfect. You could do that today, so that way we kind of know what's going on. So what's the next step on? I'm sorry,
Alok's hand has been long. Sorry.
Yeah, I have to drop in 2 minutes, so I'll make my comment quickly. So the consensus on the previous comment is that we will treat the NF deployment as a singular thing, and then we'll let the upper layer, the northbound layer, to the NFO, providing the Helm charts or whatever it is, in the form of for the instantiation of that NF deployment. And we'll keep I think the confusion came with the 1-to-1 mapping comment that no, it's not the NF deployment equal to the network function, right? We are not considering that in that.
We consider it a black box. I'm saying it's a black box. We get the chat, we just deploy. That's it, right?
And which is coming from up north, not from the nephew side. Right.
Yeah. The only caveat I would say is that you would have the necessary identity information to do your specialization process. That's all we care for. We don't care for the service logic aspects.
Yeah.
Of what part is being
required
done,
exactly.
Right.
Okay.
And then another comment regarding the structure. I was just following, like I see a couple of additional sections in this user story. For instance, procedure. I think that was another. Yeah, this one. And then use case consideration. It wasn't there in the template, I believe, right? The user story template. Was it?
No, they would have had the procedures. They would have the steps. So.
Yep. I think these are just the copy paste of the ORAN spec, right, Ravi? Maybe isn't it be better to have
No,
just a reference rather than, or do you have any modifications up in this procedure? Step 1, step 2.
no. This one is pretty much verbatim, right? I just taken
Yeah.
it from how it is, but I put it there in case we want to kind of scope it further down into how we are going to implement it. So it is
I
from
would,
that
yeah.
perspective.
So I would
Yeah,
suggest,
so
because I removed this procedural steps from the cluster creation user story, right? Rather than just have a high level requirements. And I think that you do already have it. So maybe rather than
yeah.
having a procedure as a section, we can just have a reference in.
See, the thing is that many people are not in both the communities, right? So for them to get some kind of reference of some details, I think this is good to have it here. But again, this
It
follows a
is
similar kind
externally
of
published, right? I mean, the orchestration spec, it is externally available. We can actually include that external link rather than the ORAN Alliance. And
So hey, Ravi. So the rule of thumb is here, guys. Just make sure everyone understands the rule of thumb is that when we reference we can reference if we're taking something that we're not changing or modifying, well, we should reference it, right? So that way it stays that same. If we're taking something and modifying it, that's a different animal. So in this case, if we have not modified it, right, then, and I think that's what I'll get in, it's just provide a reference to it if it's a public document, okay?
yeah, it is. It is. I mean, it's reference, but as I said, like it's a because I think I was just following the previous templates that we had from the OCloud registration, where we took the kind of the similar text, but kind of
Yeah,
had
and I
opened
think
it for discussion and comments and all that. So I mean, because somebody who's reading this to basically go and, as I said, not all folks probably are in both the communities, so it is from that perspective too.
yeah, but if they can publicly get it without paying money, which you can with the ORAN, just reference it, Robbie. It's going to make things a lot easier. Because if they
okay,
change
so
things,
this you just want to make this as referring to section
whatever it is,
312, whatever it is. That's all.
and
I mean, are we doing this for all the documents? Is that?
So the general rule of thumb, right, is that you should reference something that if it's not changed. That way you're not duplicating the content, right? If you're changing stuff, that's a different animal, right? Or you're using a subset, right? But if you're referencing it, you should just reference it, right?
Okay, no, as long as we are consistent with the other documents, that's all I was saying. So
yeah, and I think what he was saying was that when he did cluster creation, I think they changed cluster creation to do that, is what Alok was talking about. Which I don't, I agree from the standpoint of, you know, we don't want to get stuck in duplicated content and then have to keep things updated when we're always just referencing.
Yeah, as long as we feel that this is not going to change, it's okay. I mean, Alok, just put whatever, how you want it to be presented here.
I think he just left. Look at the cluster creation, Ravi, and just reference it. Use the approach that they use for create cluster, okay?
Okay, yeah, sure, no problem. Anyways, yeah, I think there is some action to sync up offline. So yeah, I'll have to drop in like 5 minutes too. So
okay, but I want to know how you guys are going to get to those last 4. So what are we doing to get to the component?
Yeah, so this is the discussions that is evolving at Seshu's end. I think that he has more updates on this. So from the OSC perspective and with Sagar and all and the other team,
yeah, Sagar could not make it to OSC meeting today because his flight got delayed. So, but we'll work on it and we will be completing it by next weekend.
Okay, so next weekend.
Next weekend, yeah, that's the current. Hopefully there is no unforeseen thing like what happened to Sagar today about his flight got delayed and all. We could not attend the OSC. So I'm actually asking for one extension more. But we'll try to complete it by this month end. Anyways, you'll have it ready. That's the thing. Before the month end, you'll have it ready.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. That's what I need to know. Thanks, guys. Anything else on this particular story?
Guys, I have to drop.
Yeah, I think.
All right. Hey, I appreciate it. Hey, I'm glad we're making progress on it, guys. It's starting to form together. That's good. Okay. All right, so the next one, guys, is the reconfiguration of the network function. Barada, I think you're on.
So, Tim, sorry to interrupt. Is anything else for me because I have to drop?
No, I think that's everything we need. So thanks for your time.
Thanks a lot. Thanks,
Yep.
guys. So
All right.
anything else? Maybe you can WhatsApp me or message me. I'll be able to bring you back. Thanks a lot.
We'll do. Thanks, buddy.
Thanks a lot.
All
Thank
right.
you.
And so reconfiguration of the network function. There was a couple things when we left this one. I did see that there's some artifacts on there that maybe if it's ready for a review, we should do that. And then my big question on this one was, Verada, did you get agreement on staffing?
Yes, Tim, yes. So Sagar and us, we discussed, and for staffing, no issue. We will
Oh,
support.
okay. Excellent. You're the best. All right. So I'm going to document that, right? And then are you ready to review this this story? I know that you guys were working on the artifacts, so I didn't know if you wanted to do a review of it.
Yeah, Joseph, Sagar, it depends on them. Okay, can we review now?
Well, Saga's on now, so but I don't see.
I'm
Joseph.
here,
So
but
you guys,
I'm here, but there's going to be a lot of noise for that. Yeah, so I mean, okay, by tomorrow or day after you can review it. I'll just write it on Slack when we can review it. I just have to add a couple of more things, some technical details, and then I think people can review it. Is that okay?
So I'm just gonna, yeah, I got it. I was just making comments here. So I'm gonna note that yes, we got the staffing for it, so it can go forward. Staffing confirmed. And the need review is still in progress. And what you said was that once ready for review, once ready, we'll announce on the Slack, right? Okay, cool. Now the third story is the deploy the near real-time RIC without the SMO. Is that ready for review? I think that's Saga. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think it is not complete yet. So the artifacts, you mean the one you showed in the previous document, use case document? The
This
similar
stuff
kind of
here, yeah. So which one is it? Oh, this one without the SMO. So I did not see. So where are we at with this use case, I guess, right? So we got some deployments. I saw this bottom stuff where we had, but it looks like we're not ready for a review on this, right? So what are we doing with this particular one?
Yeah, I think we had some internal discussions, but we are thinking what is the template that, I mean, what are the sections that you think we need to add to this? Can we take some document as reference?
Yeah, so I think what Sagar did, Sagar, could you help them? What you did for the other ORAN NFs that you provided to the network architecture, they should be able to use those as examples, right? So for the OAI NFs for the DU and the CU, you should be able to take the artifacts that you had for that, right, Joe, Sagar?
You mean the use case document, or?
Well, we should have had stuff that we provided network architecture around the deployment architectures and operators and everything else that we use for the other ORAN functions, right? Like the ODU and the OCU.
Yeah, so we didn't have a use case kind of document at that time. So that's what I think it was.
Yeah, but you got the artifacts, right?
Yes.
That you gave to NA.
Yeah. So I was just clarifying that in this document, what do you think the sections should be, like architecture?
Well, so they gave us the 4, so it's the same ones that are here, right? Let me look
okay. So that's the previous document. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, so it's just these 4 sections, right? But I think you have these 4. You have these 4
yeah, I
artifacts.
think we'll add these sections. Okay.
Yeah, just add those sections to this and use the same artifacts that you're using for ODU because it's the same stuff, right? It's just coming from OSC. And maybe there is an OSC twist, I don't know. But yeah. Can you do that? Can you guys?
Yeah,
is that
we'll add those
understandable,
sections.
Joseph?
Yeah, we'll add those sections.
Okay.
By the way,
All
just
right.
just a moment. I'm not pretty sure. I mean, the artifacts they're not coming from OSC. The artifacts which we used to deploy ODU so far, or the RAN components, they are not coming really from OSC. They are the one which we developed in Nephew, like the CRTs and everything, right?
Yeah, you're going to have to develop those in Nephew, or you're going to have to develop those, whether they're developed in OSC or in Nephew. I don't.
Yes,
You
exactly.
tell
So,
me, right?
yeah.
But I don't care.
Okay.
But those are the artifacts that we need to
Yeah.
document, because we got to get blessing over from network automation that we're not doing anything funky, right? Or if we are doing something funky, what the funky is,
Okay.
right? Okay, so that's who's in control of this one? Is it Joseph? Are you the one that's controlling this?
No, I think Norman from our team would be doing this. He will be joining from next week. So he is the one who's worked on this in ORAN SE. So
Okay.
he would drive the same thing here.
All right. Could you pass that along to him? Also,
Yes.
make sure that he's available for the Slack piece.
Yes.
And then Sagar can probably give him the hints of where all this stuff's at. So, okay.
Yes, sure. I'll let him
But
know.
I'd like to be able to review this if I can next Thursday or next Wednesday, if that's possible.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
We'll add those sections. Yeah.
I'll put that on the list for next Wednesday then, right? It's on the
Yeah.
agenda. All right.
Yeah.
Will be 1/24, right? Okay. That's the three I have. Is there anything else? I know we have 3 more use cases, and I know I thought he was. I don't see him now. I don't see Alexis. So Alexis isn't on. So we still got the crate cluster, the delete cluster, and the registration. That's still outstanding, but I don't have anyone on that I think can talk to it. So my question to the group is there any other items that we need to discuss today? Looking for hand, chat. Okay. All right. So then I'm going to let you guys go back. We'll have the next meeting will be on the 24th. We should be able to figure out enough that we'll be able to see what the OSC commitment is from this. We're starting to see some now, but we should certainly see that, and we should be able to review the user stories that have the completed artifacts. Okay. All right, guys. Thanks. Appreciate it. See you next week.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.